I think number one, the Fed minutes that came out last week, the market was a little shocked the Fed wasn't more dovish. They seemed very, very hawkish, and that's really where we topped out in the equity market. So we've seen that pull back now. We've two pretty big sharp down days, Friday and today. And now the question is, again, where do we go? So I think for Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin is kind of trying to figure that out as well. And in fact, we can go to the Bitcoin chart here. Let me bring that up so we can take a look. But basically, we broke down below this channel. So this was a bearish kind of channel, perfectly parallel lower line and upper line. And you can see on Friday when we had the big market sell-off, it did break. So that's a little bit of a concern. It's not the end all be all though, because you're still holding above the 2017 highs. So this is going to be a big test now for Bitcoin. Does Bitcoin come down? Does it tag it and bounce? Or do we start to break lower? And again, for that, you have to look at the DXY, the dollar. I think the dollar is hugely important here. The dollar has been screaming to the upside. I do have it penciled in that we have a nice double top here, so I expect a pullback in the dollar, and that may save Bitcoin in the near term. Yeah, I think for me, at least when it comes to Bitcoin, I think that Bitcoin still has a small chance to make one more push up. It almost seems too easy. And I'm a kind of a contrarian trader where, we've broken down the Bitcoin chart, never really had a big spike that got everyone on board on the bullish side. A lot of people were bullish, but not to the extent that usually signals a reversal in trend. So I am kind of curious if we see that. And I agree. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin's price today, it's only down a little bit. In fact, the equity markets are down percentage-wise more than Bitcoin, which is somewhat on the rarer side, especially when the dollar is as strong as it is. So I don't know if we can look at that right now and say, oh, that's actually a strong indicator for Bitcoin, but it very well could signal maybe a little bit of upside still left in Bitcoin's tank before it finally rolls over. So I think it's important to understand, I'm not debating whether or not Bitcoin's going to go lower. I do believe it does. The question is when. And that's going to be key here. Do we get one more push up, retest 25, maybe get to 28, or is it done now and just kind of going to that 12 to 13,000 range? Yeah, so I think the key is understanding for everyone watching that if the world crumbles, meaning that if China crumbles because their real estate market's crumbling, if Europe crumbles because of natural gas and Russia, basically what's going on is people will flood into the dollar. So my thinking is that people are over anticipating that. And my guess is, number one, we've heard that China's already cutting interest rates multiple times. They're stimulating their economy. My guess is, again, we're going to see natural gas. I have a key level on natural gas that shows it's likely going to top out. And so I think people are actually over anticipating these events. And when it comes and when it doesn't come to fruition, that's going to be also a trigger for the dollar. In fact, let me bring up the natural gas chart. I want to show you this.
You're kind of saying this might be priced in.
Yeah, I think it is. I honestly think it is. And in fact, if we look at the natural gas chart, there's this from early 20 or late 2021. Look at this channel and how every time we hit the upper line, it sells off. And look at this. I mean, this was an epic sell-off, but look at how close we are to hitting that again. In fact, that's for me, I'm going to look to short that on natural gas. I will be pulling the trigger on a short on natural gas, obviously proper allocation in my portfolio. But that to me is a no-brainer that it should be running into resistance here. And just to show you the power of these channels, which are parallel lines that charts seem to stick in between, take a look at the US oil chart from a while back. And I want to just get rid of some of these extra lines so you guys can really zone in on this. But this is remarkable, right? So if we go to your weekly chart, actually, let's go to the monthly chart. Look at the parallel and how it marked the top on oil. If you remember, Paul, when we were at 130, everyone was calling for $150, $200 a barrel. And what did it do? It tagged the upper end, which was perfectly parallel to these lows here, and oil collapsed back down. So I use these in my trading and every day, and it is amazingly powerful to utilize it and to be able to call tops and bottoms. Yeah, so Ethereum is one of the trickier charts for me to analyze, mainly because of the curveball of the merge and how that affects price. I'm a true believer that the reason Ethereum has rallied, I mean, if you look at the rally, it was up over 100% off of the lows. My guess is a chunk of that gain was due to the excitement of the merge. My fear is that it's going to be a sell the news event. It's going to happen. Yes, it's a good thing for Ethereum, but I don't necessarily know if it's a short-term continued catalyst. So my guess is I think you could get some bounces here, but I wouldn't be surprised if you have to go at least retest 1250 down here, which would be major support before it has a chance to kind of withstand the selling pressure that the U.S. markets are likely to exude. So I'm in that camp where I still think there's a little bit more downside. I still think Bitcoin has further downside, and therefore by default probably Ethereum. The question for me is, has Ethereum put in its longer term low already? Which again, I'm a little bit murky on.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dan.